What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Oliver's Meditation Club, Chapter 2. I'm going to start off every video because everybody seemed to like how last video I spent a little time talking at the beginning. People said I only watched that part and stuff, so I'm going to put that again in this video. Today, the message is something that my girlfriend had mentioned to me that I taught her, I guess, which is when you're dealing with other people, the second that you let them, piss you off, or you let them, get you all frustrated, you're their slave. Because emotionally, you're their puppet. You know what I'm saying? They're completely in control of you. So you need to be sure at all times that before you let someone or something control you, you understand that the moment you let it get you emotional, the moment you let it destroy your happiness, etc., 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 it controls you. And that's an option. You have that option to let something control you and let something take over and let something, completely destroy your day, destroy your mood, destroy your emotions, destroy your attitude, etc. Or to decide, no, I'm not going to let this bother me. You know what I'm saying? So that comes with other people too. Let's say there's someone who you really don't like or someone who's disrespecting you or something like that. The moment that you start saying, oh, I hate them, they keep bothering me, you're their little puppet. You know what I'm saying? So you need to be sure always that the moment that you give someone else control over you, the moment you let someone else emotionally manipulate you, emotionally kill your vibe, etc., it's a bigger deal than it might seem, because they have complete power over you. And next time you see them and you still have problems with them, suddenly your day is all ruined, your vibe is all gone. You know what I'm saying? So you need to be more conscious. Got to be very conscious of who you're letting emotionally trigger you, and be sure to always be in control of that. Real quick, fit check. All right, let's get started here. Wait, one last thing. Even deeper than controlling, other people controlling you, comes down to you're not going to be able to not get emotional unless you're able to control your mind. And controlling your mind is first being aware and being mindful of your mind and of your thoughts. So, for example, I give this example. People love it when I give it. I love this example. A girl walks in your class, all right, and you really dislike this girl. You're having a great day. You're sitting there talking with all your friends, but you and this girl have been having fights or whatever lately. She's been talking bad about you, whatever. She walks in your class, immediately pops in your head, oh, I hate her. Oh, she said, oh, that girl. Oh. You know what I'm saying? The non-aware, the non-meditative, the non-mindful mind is just lets those thoughts, oh, I hate her. Oh, here she comes. Look at the way she walks. Oh, da 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 da. But the mindful, meditative mind notices, oh, I hate her. And then it was wait, what's that thought? Oh, I hate her? That vibe that just appeared in my consciousness, appeared in my mind? No, I do not accept that. No, I'm having a good time with my friends. Let it pass. And keep going on and having a good time with your friends. You know what I'm saying? Control your mind. Don't let other people control your emotions. Don't be a slave to other people. Be a manly man. Chapter 2. The big secret of dealing with people. There is only one way under high heaven to get anybody to do anything. Did you ever stop to think of that? Yes, there's only one way, and this is by making the other person want to do it. Remember, there is no other way. Of course, you can make someone want to give you his watch by sticking a revolver into his ribs. You can make your employees give you cooperation until your back is turned by threatening to fire them. You can make a child do what you want it to do by a whip or a threat, but these crude methods have sharply undesirable repercussions. The only way I can get you to do anything is by giving you what you want. And what do you want? Sigmund Freud said that everything you and I do springs from two motives: the sexual urge and the desire for greatness. John Dewey, one of America's most profound philosophers, phrased it a bit differently. Dr. Dewey said the deepest urge in human nature is the desire to be important. Remember that phrase, the desire to be important. It is significant, and you are going to hear a lot about it within the book. What do you want? Not many things, but the few things that you do wish, you crave with an insistence that will not be denied. Some of the things most people want include health and the preservation of life, food, sleep, money and the things money can buy, life and life everlasting, sexual gratification, the well-being of our children and loved ones, a feeling of importance. Almost all of these wants are usually gratified, all except for one. There is one longing, almost as deep, almost as imperious, almost as the desire for food or sleep, which is seldom gratified. It is what Freud calls the desire to be great. It is what Dewey calls the desire to be important. Lincoln once began a letter saying, "Everybody likes a compliment." William James said, "The deepest principle in human nature is the craving to be appreciated." He didn't speak, mind you, of the wish or desire or longing to be appreciated. He said the craving to be appreciated. Here is a gnawing and unfaltering human hunger, and the rare individual who honestly satisfies this heart hunger will hold people in the palm of his or her hand, and even the undertaker will be sorry when he dies. The desire for a feeling of importance is one of the chief distinguishing differences between mankind and the animals. To illustrate, when I was a farm boy out of Missouri, my father bred fine Duroc Jersey hogs and pedigreed white-faced cattle. We used to exhibit our hogs and white-faced cattle at the county fairs and livestock shows throughout the Middle West. We won first prizes by the score. My father pinned his blue ribbons on a sheet of white muslin, and when friends or visitors came to the house, he would get out the long sheet of muslin. He would hold one end and I would hold the other end while he exhibited the blue ribbons. The hogs didn't care about the ribbons that they had won, but Father did. These prizes gave him a feeling of importance. If our ancestors hadn't had this flaming urge for a feeling of importance, civilization would have been impossible. Without it, we would have been just like the animals. It was this desire for a feeling of importance that led an uneducated, poverty-stricken grocery clerk to study some law books he found in the bottom barrel of a household plunder that he bought for 50 cents. You may have heard of this grocery clerk. His name was Abraham Lincoln. It was this desire for a feeling of importance that inspired Dickens to write his immortal novels. This desire inspired Sir Christopher Wren to design his symphonies in stone. This desire made Rockefeller amass millions that he never would spend. And this same desire made the richest family in your town build a house far too large for its requirements. This desire makes you want to wear the latest styles, drive the latest cars, and talk about your brilliant children. It is this desire that lures many boys and girls into joining gangs and engaging in criminal activities. The average young criminal, according to E.P. Mulrooney, one-time police commissioner of New York, is filled with ego, and his first request after his arrest is for the newspapers to make him out a hero. The disagreeable prospect of serving time seems so remote so long as he can gloat over his likeness, sharing space with pictures of sports figures, movies, TV stars, and politicians in the paper. If you tell me how you get your feeling of importance, I'll tell you what you are. That determines your character. That is the most significant thing about you. For example, John D. Rockefeller got his feeling of importance by giving money to erect a modern hospital in Peking, China, to care for millions of poor people who he had never seen and would never see. Dillinger, on the other hand, got his feeling of importance by being a bandit, a robber, and a killer. When the FBI agents were hunting him, he dashed into a farmhouse in Minnesota and said, "I'm Dillinger." He was proud of the fact that he was public enemy number one. "I'm not going to hurt you, but it's me. I'm Dillinger," he said. Yes, the one significant difference between Dillinger and Rockefeller is how they got their feeling of importance. History sparkles with amusing examples of famous people struggling for a feeling of importance. Even George Washington wanted to be called His Mightiness the President of the United States, and Columbus pleaded for the title Admiral of the Ocean and Viceroy of India. Catherine the Great refused to open letters that were not addressed to Her Imperial Majesty, and Mrs. Lincoln in the White House turned upon Mrs. Grant like a tigress and shouted, "How dare you be seated in my presence until I have invited you?" Our millionaires helped finance Admiral Byrd's expedition to the Antarctic in 1928 with the understanding that ranges of icy mountains would be named after them. And Victor Hugo aspired to have nothing less than the city of Paris renamed in his honor. Even Shakespeare, mightiest of the mighty, tried to add luster to his name by procuring a coat of arms for his family. People sometimes became invalids in order to win sympathy and attention, and get a feeling of importance. For example, take Mrs. McKinley. She got a feeling of importance by forcing her husband, the President of the United States, to neglect important affairs of state while he reclined on the bed beside her for hours at a time, his arm about her, soothing her to sleep. She fed her gnawing desire for attention by insisting that he remain with her while she was having her teeth fixed, and once created a stormy scene that had to leave her alone with the dentist while he kept an appointment with John Hay, his Secretary of State. The writer Mary Roberts Rinehart once told me of a bright, vigorous young woman who one day became an invalid in order to get a feeling of importance. One day, said Miss Rinehart, this woman had obliged to face something, her age perhaps. The lonely years were stretching ahead, and there was little left for her to anticipate. She took to her bed, and for 10 years her old mother traveled to the third floor and back, carrying trays, nursing her. Then one day the old mother, weary with service, lay down and died. For some weeks the invalid languished, and then she got up, put on her clothing, and resumed living again. Some authorities declare that people may actually go insane in order to find, in the dreamland of insanity, the feeling of importance that has been denied them in the harsh world of reality. There are many more patients suffering from mental diseases in the United States than from all other diseases combined. So what is the cause of this insanity? Nobody can answer such a sweeping question, but we do know that certain diseases, such as syphilis, break down and destroy the brain cells and result in insanity. In fact, about 1/2 of all mental diseases can be attributed to physical causes such as brain lesions, alcohol, toxins, and injuries. But the other half, and this is the appalling part of the story, the other half of the people who go insane apparently have nothing wrong with those brain cells. In post-mortem examinations, when their brain tissues are studied under the highest powered microscopes, these tissues are found to be apparently as healthy as yours and mine. So why do these people go insane? I put that question to the head physician of one of our most important psychiatric hospitals. This doctor, who has received the highest honors and most coveted awards for his knowledge of the subject, told me frankly that he didn't know why people went insane. Nobody knows for sure. But he did say that many people who go insane find in insanity a feeling of importance that they were unable to achieve in the world of reality. And then he told me this story. I have a patient right now whose marriage proved to be a tragedy. She wanted love, sexual gratification, children, and social prestige, but life blasted all her hopes. Her husband did not love her. He refused even to eat with her and forced her to serve his meals in his room upstairs. She had no children, no social standing, and she went insane. And in her imagination she divorced her husband and resumed her maiden name. She now believes she is married into an English our rich family, and she insists on being called Lady Smith. And as for children, she imagines now that she has had a new child every single night. Each time I call on her, she says, "Doctor, I had a baby last night." Life once wrecked all her dream ships on the sharp rocks of reality, but in the sunny fantasy isles of insanity, all her bargainings race into port with canvas billowing and wind singing through the masts. Tragic? Oh, I don't know. Her physician said to me if I could stretch out my hand and restore her sanity, I would not do it. She is much happier now as she is. If some people are so hungry for a feeling of importance that they can actually go insane to get it, imagine what miracle you and I can achieve by giving people honest appreciation on this side of insanity. So good. One of the first people in American business to be paid a salary of over $1 million a year when there was no income tax and a person earning $50 a week was considered very well off was Charles Schwab. He'd been picked by Andrew Carnegie to become the first president of the newly formed United States Steel Company in 1921, when Schwab was only 38 years old. Schwab later left U.S. Steel to take over the then troubled Bethlehem Steel Company and rebuilt it into one of the most profitable companies in America. Why did Andrew Carnegie pay $1 million a year, or more than $3,000 a day, to Charles Schwab? Why? Because Schwab was a genius? No. Because he knew more about the manufacture of steel than others? Nonsense. Charles Schwab told me himself that he had many men working for him who knew more about the manufacturing of steel than he did. Schwab says he was paid this salary largely because of his ability to deal with people. I asked him how he did it. Here is his secret set down in his own words. Words that ought to be cast in eternal bronze and hung up in every home and every school, every shop and every office in the land. Words that children ought to memorize instead of wasting their time memorizing the conjugation of Latin verbs or the amount of annual rainfall in Brazil. Words that will all but transform your life and mine if we only begin to live them. I consider my ability to arouse enthusiasm among my people, said Schwab, the greatest asset that I possess, and the way to develop the best that it isn't in a person is by appreciation and encouragement. There is nothing else that so kills the ambitions of a person as criticisms from superiors. I never criticize anyone, Chapter 1. I believe in giving a person incentive to work, so I am anxious to praise and loath to find fault. If I like anything, I am hearty in my approbation and lavish in my praise. That's actually a biblical thing. Sorry, I never interrupt the chapter, but that's biblical. Praise God. Praise God. Praise God. Andrew Carnegie following the Bible. This is what Schwab did. But what do average people do? The exact opposite. If they don't like a thing, they bawl out their subordinates. If they do like it, they say nothing. As the old couplet says, once I did bad, and that I heard ever. Twice I did good, and that I heard never. In my wide association in life, meeting with many and great people in various parts of the world, Schwab declared, I have yet to find the person, however great or exalted his station, who did not do better work and put forth greater effort under a spirit of approval than he ever would under a spirit of criticism. That, he said frankly, was one of the most outstanding reasons for the phenomenal success of Andrew Carnegie. Carnegie praised his associates publicly as well as privately. Carnegie wanted to appraise his assistants even on his tombstone. He wrote an epitaph for himself which read, Here lies one who knew how to get around him men who were cleverer than himself. Sincere appreciation was one of the secrets of the first John D. Rockefeller's success in handling men. For example, when one of his partners, Edward T. Bedford, lost $1 million for the firm by a bad buy in South America, John D. might have criticized, but he knew Bedford had done his best, and the incident was closed. So Rockefeller found something to praise. He congratulated Bedford because he had been able to save 60% of the money that he had invested. That's splendid, said Rockefeller. We don't always do as well as that upstairs. I have among my clippings a story that I know never happened, but it illustrates a truth, so I will repeat it. According to the silly story, a farm woman, at the end of a heavy day's work, set before her men folks a heaping pile of hay. And when they indignantly demanded whether she had gone crazy, she replied, Why, how did I know you'd notice? I've been cooking for you men for the last 20 years, and in all that time I ain't heard one word to let me know that you weren't just eating hay. When a study was made a few years ago on runaway wives, what do you think it was discovered to be the main reason wives ran away? It was lack of appreciation. And I bet a similar study made of runaway husbands would come out the same way. We often take our spouses so much for granted that we never even let them know that we appreciate them. A member of one of our classes told of a request made by his wife. She and a group of other women in her church were involved in a self-improvement program. She asked her husband to help her by listing 6 things he believed she could do to help her become a better wife. He frankly reported to the class, I was surprised by such a request. Frankly, it would have been easy for me to just list 6 things I would like to change about her. My heavens, she could have listed 1,000 things she would like me to change about her. But I didn't. I said to her, let me think about it, and I will give you an answer in the morning. Oh, I remember this. This is beautiful. The next morning, I got up very early and called the florist, and had them send 6 red roses to my wife with a note saying, I cannot think of 6 things I would like to change about you. I love you the way you are. When I arrived at home that evening, who do you think greeted me at the door? That's right, my wife. She was almost in tears. Needless to say, I was extremely glad I had not criticized her as she had requested. The following Sunday at church, after she had reported the results of her assignment, several women with whom she had been studying came up to me and said, That is the most considerate thing I ever have heard. It was then that I realized the power of sincere appreciation. Florian Ziegfeld, the most spectacular producer who ever dazzled Broadway, gained his reputation by his subtle ability to glorify the American girl. Time after time, he took drab little creatures that no one ever looked at twice and transformed them on the stage to glamorous visions of mystery and seduction. Knowing the value of appreciation and confidence, he made women feel beautiful by the sheer power of his gallantry and consideration. He was practical. He raised the salary of chorus girls from $30 a week to as high as $175. And he was chivalrous. On opening night at the Follies, he sent telegrams to the stars in the cast, and he deluged every chorus girl in the show with American Beauty roses. I once succumbed to the fad of fasting and went for 6 days and nights without eating. It was not difficult. I was less hungry at the end of the 6th day than I was at the end of the 2nd. Yet, I know, as you know, that many people who think they would have committed a crime if they let their families or employees go for 6 days without food. But they will let them go for 6 days and 6 weeks and sometimes 60 years without giving them the hearty appreciation that they crave almost as much as they crave food. When Alfred Lunt, one of the greatest actors of his time, played the leading role in Reunion in Vienna, he said, There is nothing I need so much as nourishment from my self-esteem. We nourish the bodies of our children and friends and employees, but how seldom do we nourish their self-esteem? We provide them with roast beef and potatoes to build industry and energy, but we neglect to give them kind words of appreciation that would sing in their memories for years, like the music of the morning stars. Paul Harvey, in one of his radio broadcasts, The Rest of the Story, told how showing sincere appreciation can change a person's life. He reported that years ago a teacher in Detroit asked Stevie Morse to help her find a mouse that was lost in the classroom. You see, she appreciated the fact that nature had given Stevie something no one else in the room had. Nature had given Stevie a remarkable pair of ears to compensate for his blind eyes. But this was really the first time Stevie had been shown appreciation for his talented ears. Now, years later, he says this act of appreciation was the beginning of a new life. You see, from that time on, he developed his gift of hearing, and went on to become, under the stage name of Stevie Wonder, one of the greatest singers and songwriters of the 70s. Some readers are saying right now as they read these lines, "Oh, flattery, beer oil, I've tried that stuff, it doesn't work. Not with intelligent people." Of course, flattery seldom works with discerning people. It is shallow, selfish, and insincere. It is ought to fail, and it usually does. True, some people are so hungry, so thirsty for appreciation that they will swallow anything, just as a starving man will eat grass and fish worms. Even Queen Victoria was susceptible to flattery. Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli confessed that he would put it on thick in dealing with the Queen. To use his exact words, he said, he spread it on with a trowel. But Disraeli was one of the most polished, deft, and adroit men who ever ruled the far-flung British Empire. He was a genius in his line. What would work for him wouldn't necessarily work for you and me. In the long run, flattery will do you more harm than good. Flattery is counterfeit, and like counterfeit money, it will eventually get you into trouble if you continue to pass it on to others. The difference between appreciation and flattery, that is simple. One is sincere and one is insincere. One comes from the heart, other from the teeth out. One is unselfish, the other is selfish. One is universally admired, the other is universally condemned. I recently saw a bust of Mexican hero General Alvaro Obregón in the Chapultepec Palace in Mexico City. Below the bust are carved these wise words from General Obregón's philosophy. Don't be afraid of enemies who attack you. Be afraid of the friends who flatter you. No, no, no. I am not suggesting flattery. Far from it. I am talking about a new way of life. Let me repeat, I am talking about a new way of life. King George V had a set of 6 maxims displayed on the wall of his study at the Buckingham Palace. One of these maxims said, "Teach me neither to proffer nor to receive cheap praise." That's all flattery is, cheap praise. I once read a definition of flattery that may be worth repeating. Flattery is telling the other person precisely what he thinks about himself. Use what language you will, said Ralph Waldo Emerson. You can never say anything but what you are. If all we had to do was flatter, everybody would catch on and we all should be experts in human relations. When we are not engaged in thinking about some definite problem, we usually spend about 95% of our time thinking about ourselves. Now, if we stop thinking about ourselves for a while and begin to think of the other person's good points, we won't have to resort to flattery so cheap and false that it can be spotted almost before it comes out of our mouths. One of the most neglected virtues of our daily existence is appreciation. Somehow we neglect to praise our son or daughter when he brings home a good report card, and we fail to encourage our children when they first succeed in baking a cake or building a birdhouse. Nothing pleases children more than this kind of paternal interest and approval. The next time you enjoy a filet mignon at the club, send word to the chef that it was excellently prepared. When a tired salesperson shows you unusual courtesy, please mention it. Every minister, lecturer, and public speaker knows the discouragement of pouring himself or herself out to an audience and not receiving a single ripple of appreciative comment. What applies to professionals applies doubtless to workers in offices, shops, and factories, and on our families and friends. In our interpersonal relations, we should never forget that all our associates are human beings and hunger for appreciation. It is the legal tender that all our souls enjoy. Try leaving a friendly trail of little sparks of gratitude on your daily trips. You will be surprised how they will set small flames of friendship that will become rose beacons on your next visit. Pamela Dunham of New Fairfield, Connecticut, had among her responsibilities on her job the supervision of a janitor who was doing a very poor job. The other employees would jeer at him and litter the hallways to show him what a bad job he was doing. It was so bad, productive time was being lost in the shop. Without success, Pam tried various ways to motivate the person. She noticed that occasionally he did a particularly good piece of work. She made a point to praise him for it in front of the others. Each day, the job he did all around got better, and pretty soon he started doing his work efficiently. Now he does an excellent job, and other people give him appreciation and recognition. Honest appreciation got results where criticism and ridicule failed. Hurting people not only does not change them, it is never called for. There is an old saying that I have cut out and pasted on my mirror where I cannot help but see it every day. I shall pass this way but once, any good, therefore that I can do or any kindness that I can show to any human being, let me do it now. Let me not defer it nor neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again. Emerson said, every man I meet is my superior in some way. In that I learn of him. If that was true of Emerson, isn't it likely to be 1,000 times more true of you and I? Let's cease thinking of our own accomplishments, our own wants. Let's try to figure out the other person's good points. Then forget flattery. Give honest, sincere appreciation. Be hearty in your approbation and lavish in your praise. And people will cherish your words and treasure them and repeat them over a lifetime. Repeat them years after you have forgotten them. Principle 2. Give honest and sincere appreciation. I wish I wrote it on the board, but I'll go write it on the board right now. Give honest and sincere appreciation. Go write it on your board too, guys, watching at home. We're making our way through this book. That honestly is one of my favorite chapters of any book of all time. I forgot, but I just think about that chapter all the time just because of just how beautiful it is. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of stuff in there is just straight up beautiful, and biblical too. Bible verse about praising others. Okay, well, I don't know the exact verse, but it's something like, God will judge us at the end of the day, so let's try to, praise and appreciate others, something like that. I don't know. I'll find it somewhere. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed the video. Look at me. All you gotta do is tune in, once every week, a week and a half, and you're gonna make your way through this book. Tell me you haven't already learned anything, all right? Never complain about anyone, never condemn anyone. Fire. Okay, if you actually stick to that, your life will literally change, because all that negative thinking can destroy a person, and, also damage your relationships very bad, and make you seem like a real jackass. And this one, give honest and sincere appreciation. People starve for that kind of appreciation, man. And a lot of people, didn't get it as kids. You know what I'm saying? So they yearn for it. You know what I'm saying? So when you have an opportunity to give someone that kind of appreciation, always take it. And that's what I always do. Sometimes, just when someone has a good attitude, this is the easy one that y'all can do. This isn't flattery. But just when someone has a good attitude, it's one of your friends, and they come around and they're just super, just being really funny and really cool, just be like, dude, your vibe today is great. I just had to tell you that, bro, you're in such a good mood. And I'll tell you, that stuff works wonders, because it happens way more frequently once you start pointing it out and calling attention to it and appreciating it. So there we go. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention this in the first video, but if you're still watching, you're a legend. You're a legend. Last time there were 3 people who finished the video because I put the secret code. Y'all already know the secret code. Give honest and sincere appreciation. Text me that. If you finished it, text me that. I'm serious. Text me right now. Text me. I don't care if you think, I'm going to see you soon and I'll tell you about the video. No, text me. Alright. The first half of the book is how to win friends. Right? So the first half of the book is about, how do I become a person who people want to be friends with? Don't always be complaining. Be someone who's handing out appreciation, and y'all are going to hear more about it. The second half is how to influence others. How to get others to, do what you want them to do. Without, being a master manipulator or being those kind of people. Whatever, I'm talking too much. I hope everybody enjoyed. I'll be back within, a week and a half, probably. I don't know. I'll be getting busy, man. I'm on the grind. I hope y'all enjoyed. Love you guys.